All right, let's jump right in with a question that you've probably asked yourself a million times, but maybe never really truly answered. It's a question that gets right to the very core of who you think you are. No, really, just for a second. Who is that I that's hearing my voice right now? We throw that word around all the time. I think this, I want that. But what is it actually pointing to? You probably feel like you know the answer deep down, but the ideas we're going to explore today, well, they might just shake that certainty up a little bit. Wow, okay. That's a pretty bold claim, right? To suggest that the I we feel so connected to, so in charge of, might not even be real in the way we think it is. So, let's do it. Let's pull on that string and see what we find. So first up, we're diving into this whole I illusion. And it all starts with that super familiar, constant feeling we all have of being a self, the main character in our own movie. It feels completely solid, doesn't it? There's a me that woke up this morning, a me listening to this right now, and a me who's going to go about the rest of the day. This feeling is like our default setting. It's the voice in our head, right? The narrator of our own personal story. Okay, but this is where it gets interesting. We feel like we're in the driver's seat, like we're the ones authoring our thoughts and deciding our actions. But what if that feeling of being in control is just part of the performance? What if the I is just the face of a much deeper, more automatic process? All right, so if we're all just puppets, who's the puppet master? What's actually pulling the strings here? Well, the source material we're looking at points to one single, incredibly powerful force that's running the whole show. And the puppet master is craving. Now, this is absolutely key. It's not your personal craving or my craving. It's described more like a law of nature, like gravity. It's this constant impersonal energy that's always there, pulling us toward what feels good and pushing us away from what feels bad. It's the engine. And get this whole thing happens in a split second, totally under the radar. First, a sensation pops up, you see something, you hear something. Then, bam, craving reacts instantly, before you even have a chance to think. It's either, ooh, pleasant, get more of that, or, ugh, unpleasant, get it away. And only then, after all that, does the I stroll onto the stage to take credit, saying, oh, I like this, or I hate that. The I is literally the last one to know what's going on. So, okay, craving is the engine, the raw force. But that can't be the whole story, right? Something has to make the performance so convincing that we actually believe this puppet is a real person with free will. And that brings us to the stage itself, the whole fabricated reality our mind cooks up. See, the world we think we're seeing isn't a perfect photograph of reality. It's a construction, and it's built to make the I seem like the star. The stage is built with something called ignorance. And we're not talking about ignorance like, not knowing facts or being unintelligent. This is something much deeper. It's a kind of fundamental blind spot we're all born with, a basic misreading of how things actually work. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you're walking through a dark room and you see something coiled on the floor. Your mind instantly screams snake and your heart starts pounding. But then you flip on the lights and you see it was just a rope the whole time. Well, that rope? That's just reality, these raw, impersonal processes happening. And the snake? That's the solid, scary I that our mind projects onto it. It feels so real, but it's just a misinterpretation in the dark. So what this really means is something huge, that the solid world we see out there and the solid self we feel in here are actually part of the same illusion. They're both mental fabrications that arise together because of this fundamental misunderstanding. So let's turn on the lights. If we see the rope for what it is and the snake disappears, what are we actually looking at? If the I isn't one solid thing, what is it made of? It turns out what we call the self isn't a single entity at all. It's more like a busy beehive, a whole collection of different, interlocking, and constantly changing processes, all humming along together. There's no CEO in charge. And here's what's in that bundle. You've got the physical body, right? All the sensations and stuff. Then you've got raw feelings, just the data, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. After that come perceptions, which slaps labels on everything. Good, bad, that's a tree, that's an insult. Next up, mental formations. That's the whole whirlwind of your thoughts, intentions, and reactions. And finally, there's consciousness, the basic screen of awareness that all of this plays out on. Put them all together and boom, you get the very convincing illusion of a single me. And this leads to a really subtle but wow, a really profound shift in how you see things. It's about taking the I out of the equation. So instead of I am thinking, it becomes more like, ah, a thought process is occurring. Instead of I feel sad, it's more like the phenomenon of sadness is present right now. The experience is still happening, it's just not happening to anybody. And this new way of seeing things, this is what the source calls right understanding. It's just seeing what's happening clearly, without adding that extra layer of me and mine on top of everything. And it's not about becoming some kind of unfeeling robot. It's just about seeing the inner machinery for what it actually is. Okay, so what? What's the payoff here? What actually happens when you start to see through this illusion? Well, it turns out it changes pretty much everything. Suddenly, you're not the actor getting thrown around the stage anymore, jerked around by every little push and pull of craving. You're in the audience. You can just watch the whole wild show of your thoughts and feelings play out with a bit of space, a bit of freedom, because you know it's not actually fundamentally you. And this has huge implications for things like fear and anxiety. See, most of our fear comes from trying to protect this fragile idea of I. But if you see there's no solid person there to begin with, who is there to be afraid? The energy of fear might still arise, but it doesn't have a victim to latch onto anymore. And let's be super clear. The goal isn't to destroy the puppet or get rid of the self. The thoughts are still going to think. The feelings are still going to feel. It's just about knowing it's a puppet. And once you really see that, the whole high-stakes drama just loses its grip on you. The tension eases, and you can find a kind of quiet, observant peace. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. What would happen in your life, like right now, today, if you stopped trying so hard to perform, to be the main character, and instead you just sat back and became a curious member of the audience, just watching the fascinating, impersonal show of your own experience unfold?